All right. Good evening, everyone. I think we'll call the meeting to order. It's 5:01. First is roll call, so I'll go ahead and call the roll. Tuan Than,
Here.
Miles Durfee here, Geronimo Gatan,
Here.
and Michael Hoover.
Here.
All right. All members are accounted for. All right. We're public comment is our first item. Are there any public? Oh yeah, look at that. He printed me an agenda and I'm already messing it up. Roll call, and then we do approval of the agenda. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
I motion that.
Thank you.
A second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. We'll go ahead and do that. And now we'll move to public comment. Are there any public comments tonight? And we're live, or are we on video in the other locations, or?
We are.
Okay, great.
So we don't have no public comments.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And then I also want to check because we do have each of our school sites that are live with two-way conferencing. So just double checking Meridian. Do we have any public comments at Meridian?
There are no public comments at Meridian.
Thank you. Palm Lane. Do we have any public comments at Palm Lane?
No public comment at Palm Lane.
Thank you. Horizon. Do we have any public comments at Horizon?
No public comment for Horizon.
Thank you. And Vista Charter Middle School. Do we have any public comments?
There are no public comments at Vista Charter Middle School at this time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, great. All right, now we can move to the consent calendar, and I believe we can take that all as one motion for all the consent items. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I motion that.
Thank you, Tron.
Second.
Second, Michael. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? No, we're all in favor. Okay, great. Moving, so that clears number 2. Now we'll move off to the superintendent's report and discussion items. Colin?
All right, thank you. Welcome everybody to our second board meeting here in our new boardroom. We have a number of exciting celebrations today. So we are going to start with our Vista Charter Public Schools Certificated Employee of the Month. And this month we are celebrating Miss Soledad Chavez, our Palm Lane instructional coach. Ms. Chavez has played an integral role since first beginning with Vista. She continuously strives to support staff and students through strategic support to drive data. She's always rising to the occasion when needed, leading by example, and putting kids first. And we have a special presentation from the Palm Lane family. So take it away. So congratulations, Ms. Chavez. Well earned. And just like we did at the previous board meeting, we'll wait for the board to come down and do pictures until we've celebrated everyone. Next, we'd like to celebrate our Vista Charter Public Schools Classified Employee of the Month. Let me backtrack for just 1 second. So for those of you who just joined us, we were just celebrating the amazing Miss Chavez. As you can see, she has a lot of support. So thank you all for coming. Next, we'd like to celebrate our Classified Employee of the Month, and it is Miss Linda Miguel, our Vista Meridian Office Manager. Linda works tirelessly for Meridian. Meridian has had some unique challenges to overcome this school year, and they have done so successfully in large part thanks to the efforts of Miss Miguel. She's worked tirelessly the weekend before school started to make sure that families had correct information, facilitated nutrition for our students, and played a key role in making sure the Meridian office was ready to go when students returned. Congratulations, Linda. And I believe our parent is on the way. So I'll circle back to our parent when she arrives. So we'll just press pause on that. We have some more celebrations in the meantime. We have 2 employees that reached their 10-year anniversary with Vista this past month. So the first one is Miss Susana Betancourt. And also Miss Cecilia Damian. And I want to highlight these 2 exceptional individuals because they were Vista's first 2 employees in Orange County that were brought on 10 years ago. And fast forward a decade later, look at what has come from what both of you started. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you have done over the past 10 years for Vista. And while we are waiting on Miss Mui to arrive, why don't we go ahead and do the photos? So we will start with Miss Chavez. All right, now that we're back from photos, we do have one more. We have our parent of the month who's driving down from LA and is stuck in traffic. So we'll make accommodations. So when she 5 minutes, okay. So we'll continue on with the superintendent's report, and then when she comes, or you know what, maybe we'll just circle back at the end of the superintendent's report, so that way we don't break the flow. All right. Next up in the superintendent's report is the strategic plan update. So this month, the two main updates. First is with in priority one, initiative 1.3, our English language arts curriculum. The ELA working group has continued to meet and has made curricular recommendations after reviewing a number of different curricula. And the decision will be coming next month. So we hope at the next board meeting, we will have an exciting update for you. And then in priority 2.1, the Vista identity, we are working to align the portrait of a graduate with our portfolio process. And so we are working together amongst the two groups that are doing those items to make sure that both items are aligned, so that way when it is ultimately implemented at each schools, it is seamless. Enrollment updates. Enrollment has stayed consistent during this school year. We have a total of 1,793 students, up one from last month, and each of the schools, plus or minus a few students, have remained consistent. One of the requests last month was to provide enrollment updates for the next school year with the lottery applications, as well as who has followed through with enrollment. I do want to share with the board that this data does not include feeder schools, students from feeder schools that are intending to return and move on to the next Vista school. So once that data is in, the numbers will look a lot higher. But this data that is in the superintendent's report is just new students from outside of Vista. And I put the enrollment targets there because that is extremely important. All of our schools know exactly what their enrollment targets are and are working diligently to make sure that we reach those enrollment targets. Over the past month, we also had Vista Horizons oversight visit, and went very, very well. Congratulations to Mr. Benavides and his team at Vista Horizon for an amazing oversight visit. And some of the highlights in that visit were the level of engagement across all classrooms, the creativity of the specials classes, including music and dance, the focus on small group instruction, and the culture of reading that has been created at Vista Horizon. So again, congratulations, Mr. Benavides. Job well done. I also want to follow up. This past month, we have sent out an immigration toolkit to all of our Vista staff and our Vista families to make sure that the Vista community is well aware of what to do if an immigration agent were to either show up at the school or to show up at the community. And we want to make sure that our staff, our students, our families are well equipped and know what to do in that case. And this was not on the superintendent's report because this is literally hot off the press as of today. But Palm Lane was actually featured in a news article today. We did not know about this article or that it was being published, and Ms. Prado didn't know that this was being published, but it was an opinion article in the Press Enterprise, and it was an article that was focused on the parent trigger law and the fact that it has basically come and gone, and no schools really since Palm Lane have utilized that. And the article talks about how since the parent trigger, Palm Lane's proficiency rates have actually grown drastically. And so it paints Palm Lane in a very positive light. So I will share that article with the board so you all can review that, but that is literally today. All right. I would like to, at this point, I'd like to hand it over to Miss Amaya. She's going to do a quick presentation on 2 of the follow-up requested items from the last board meeting.
It'll be quick, I promise. All right. So at our last meeting, I shared our diagnostic 2 data. Oh, sorry. Is that better? Okay, I just didn't want to be loud. All right. So, and we had a couple of questions, so I just wanted to make sure that I brought updates today. So last time after the presentation, I know that I always have a hard time with these clickers. It's not working. It says on. Oh, there it goes. I pushed it like 7 times, so we don't know what's gonna happen. Huh? What? Oh, okay. Can I say next slide? Does that work? All right, thank you. All right, so please feel free to interrupt me with any questions during the presentation. We don't have to wait till the end. So this I did share last time, which is grade level data. This first slide shows by grade level where all schools are with reading. And just as it was mentioned last time, you can see how in 4th grade, scores tend to dip. That's kind of like the big dip. The yellow start to shrink more into the red, and that's not unique to Vista. That's just kind of statewide. But definitely our eye is on it, and it's something that we're working on. The next slide is the same data, but for math. And just very similarly, you see that 4th grade dip, those yellows that tend to trend more toward the red than the green, which is what we'd like. So for the next slide and the next upcoming slides, I'll go through how each school did. So first of all, this is reading. So you can see side by side all of the schools, just kind of where they're at. And then the next slide is for math. So again, gives you an idea where the schools are at as a whole. The next slide is Horizons data for both reading and math. As you can see, 3rd grade is looking really good for Horizon. So we're really keeping an eye on those students, hopefully, to minimize them going into the red in 4th grade. Both principals and teachers have now also chosen the students that they'll be focusing on between now and the Smarter Balance Assessment. The next slide is Palm Lane. Palm Lane, our kinders are looking great right now, very, very promising. So again, just need to keep an eye on them to make sure that we can maintain those levels of proficiency going into the upcoming years. Math does show that there's a lot more reds in 4th grade, but also more green, which is good. More students meeting. Next is Vista Condor. Condor math does not have as much of a dip as other 4th grade classes do, but in general, there's a little bit of struggling happening in Condor that, again, principals and teachers now have focused students and have very clear next steps to support the students. And we're keeping an eye on Condor math in general. In reading, though, they have had significant growth from the first diagnostic to the next, and we're really looking forward to the 3rd diagnostic assessment for both areas, reading and math. Moving on to the middle school is next slide. This is Vista Charter Middle School's data by grade level in the next slide. Oh, there we go. Sorry. No, sorry. Go back. Vista Charter. One more back. So this is Vista Charter's math and reading. In the middle school, the biggest dip tends to happen in 8th grade, and we're happy to see that the dip was not so huge from one diagnostic to another this year, like it has been previously. And again, diagnostic 3 is looking very promising. And the last slide is Vista Heritage data by grade. So again, the 8th grade dip is not, it's a common statewide trend. It's not just Vista. But the greens are growing at all grade levels. And another thing to note is that both middle schools, the data is very aligned. So it's very similar, which is just promising for like alignment of our practices and, you know, the focus that the principals have on with their teachers and with their students. So the next slide, we're going to move on to the VISTA effect. I know last time it was requested that I share how VISTA students do moving into our schools versus other versus students that come from other schools. And here we go. So as you can see, students shown in the red that come from one VISTA school to another achieve higher levels of proficiency than students that come from other schools, whether they're within the district or not. In ELA, the difference is fairly significant, especially in LA, but also in, I'm sorry, especially in ELA in the LA schools, but also in math. So you can see that this data is the sixth grade proficiency rates 23-24. So after the fifth graders came over to sixth grade. But in Orange County, same thing. You also see a difference. And then in math, that's just kind of the area that we have a little bit of work to do. Students from Palm Lane that come to Heritage also, as you can see, they do well. I did put a star next to Palm Lane because it's only 5 students that data reflects only 5 students, which is not enough for a statistical comparison, but it's just good to know. It really shows us that, you know, we really want, like Ms. Alessandro, Ms. Prado collaborating more, keeping those kids. We don't want to be working on these kids so much in Palm Lane, and then we send them out to other schools. We really want to keep them at Vista School. So I'm definitely going to be focusing on that. But that is it for me, unless you all have any questions.
Just a couple of comments really quick. So first of all, thank you so much for putting this data together. I know it takes time to do that kind of stuff, but it really gives a good perspective to me, and I hope the rest of the board agrees that that's really helpful to see. And I do appreciate seeing all the greens by the students from Vista that were kind of staying with Vista, which is great. I'm interested in Palm Lane. Just I see the first grade in Palm Lane. And so I was looking at those and just wondering if we don't need to comment tonight, but just I'm sure you guys are tracking that, but I'm trying to understand how that data is working, because I imagine those first graders will be at Palm Lane for another 4 years or so. So I'm sure there's a lot of work being associated with that. So thank you. Any other?
Do we have a comparison data for 4th grade? So I want to see why like the data just dips or the grades just dip.
Comparison data to what? I'm so sorry.
Like you have comparison data for current Vista student and then incoming students, right? So I was just curious why the grades were dipping in 4th grade.
It's a very common trend in the state in general. So I think for us, it's just really about keeping an eye on like very specific students and seeing what's causing that trend. I think it just has to do with the assessment. 3rd grade is the first year that they test. And if you notice, like our trends with Vista are very much in line with like the states. There isn't that much of, for similar demographics, of course, they tend to do fairly well in 3rd grade. And then 4th grade is kind of where that reading slump happens. And it has to do with their reading and just how much text they can access versus what they have to access in 3rd grade on the assessment. So like Dr. Felch mentioned, we also are looking into ELA curriculum coming in this fall. So that will be a huge focus for us, just monitoring the implementation, making sure it's implemented to fidelity, tracking the data using the curriculum's assessments. And then what we're doing now, which is not different than what we'll be doing next year, is really I meet with all the principals. We look at very specific students and where they're at and kind of the work that needs to be done to move them forward. They then meet with their teachers and do that same thing. So we're just tracking very targeted groups of students to really help move them along.
So it's the same set of students. You're not getting influx of new students in 4th grade.
No, not really. They're all the same. They're just moving along.
All right.
Yep. I'll just add, I wanted to thank you again, right, for putting this together. I would ask, like, when you look at this data, right, was there anything surprising to you when you, like, are, you know, you're so into the work, right, you're in it, but like, when you see all this data side by side, and you step back, was there anything that you thought that was enlightening?
To be honest with you, the biggest thing that I noticed looking at everything was just how well our scores are trending in math, which again also doesn't happen. Usually ELA tends to students perform better and trend better. Our performance isn't there yet with math, and again, in general, students always perform better in ELA than math. But we're trending much better in math, and I'm seeing a lot less red in math. So I think carrying some of those practices into ELA, moving along with the new curriculum, will hopefully help move that along.
Yeah, that's super helpful. And I think to the same point of, you know, is there, one question I have is, how long have you guys been using iReady?
Since
In 2019.
2019?
First
Okay.
year, yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
And then, you know, is there other, I'm not asking you to come and present it, but
Okay.
I know with the iReady program, like there's walkthrough tools and data, right? Is that currently being used?
Yeah, actually, we have iReady learning walks happening next month.
Yep.
There's one that's already been scheduled at each
Great.
school, so we'll be walking with one of their trainers with very specific look-fors. And based on what that data tells us, we're going to use that to guide our professional development for next year
Mhm.
and work on the just whatever comes up. That all we want to see is like where is everybody with the implementation and what we need to work on to improve.
Yeah, I love it. And I think like what's so great about this is there's a lot of bright spots in this data. And so using that data, right, as you're walking through to figure out what is working, right? Because it's so much baked into the culture, the students' investment, right? The environment that they're in. So appreciate you sharing this and glad you guys doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would just editorialize the last statement and then turn it back over to you for the principal's report. You know, I can see when I get the weekly newsletters and the information that I get, and I get the principal reports for the board reports that we've all gotten, the dedication that the team has with looking at the data and working the data to try to influence and improve education and instruction. So your work is, so for the staff, right, it's really important that the board, you can see we care about that, and we can also tell that you care about that, and we know it will continue to translate into positive things. So thanks for all the effort that the staff is putting in on that, and we'll continue to just keep doing anything we can, which is very limited, but we hope to help. So Colin.
All right, thank you. We have two final items in the superintendent's report before moving on. Our parent of the month is here, Miss Sylvia Mui. So congratulations. So Miss Mui is part of the Horizons School Site Council, ELAC, and assists other parents. She's always supporting our schools during meetings, coffee with the principal, and providing donations to the classroom and Vista Horizon. We're so proud and blessed to have Miss Mui to be part of the Vista Horizon family. Congratulations. And I'd like to invite the board one more time for a photo. And as we make our way back, I want to publicly recognize that Miss Mui made the trek all the way down from Los Angeles to be here in person with us today. That is dedication. That is dedication. All right, and I said I had two things, so I have one final item. Today is our board president's birthday. So I would like to invite everyone to join me in singing, because you don't want to hear my voice, in singing happy birthday to our board president, Miles Durfee. So a 1, a 2.
Thank you. Oh, I will.
And we
Thank
have
you.
some mini cupcakes to enjoy.
Thank you.
And that
uh,
is the superintendent's report.
Yeah, what a great birthday present to be able to spend the time with the Vista board. So there you go. Okay, so now moving along to the principal reports. And I will turn it back over to you, Colin. And I know, are you going to do any and then hand it over? Or?
This month, we're going to have Condor and Heritage's principal, Ms. Roxanne Alessandro, report for us.
Where is he? Oh, there you are. Sorry. I'm looking all around. Okay, here we go. Good evening, board members, Superintendent Felch, Assistant Superintendent Amaya, and esteemed guests. I am excited to be here tonight to share a little bit about what's happening at Condor and Heritage. So we're going to start. Where do I point it? Over there? Okay. And I went too far. Okay. As always, I like to start with enrollment and ADA for the previous month. We've been up a couple students and down a couple students in both schools, and we've ended up like right at the same number as we were last month. So maybe -1. So we are working on our enrollment, and we'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment. So you see the breakdown there by grade level, and our ADA took quite a dip this month. And I think that's due to the Monday in February where we had students out due to the day without an immigrant. And we had 120 students out in Condor that day, 199 students in Heritage. So we took a big hit there. And I think that is what caused these low ADA numbers for this month. Okay, there we go. And then we have the new enrollment for the next school year. This is purely just new enrollments. This has nothing to do with students rolling over from the current school year. So 41 total at Condor and 21 at Heritage, and still growing. Yes. And we have our amazing community school coordinators who are doing so much work to increase our enrollment. And so just some of the things that are happening, on March 5th, we have the 6th graders from Palm Lane coming over to Heritage to take a tour of the school. We provide them lunch, and then they do some fun activities, get to know the 7th grade teachers. So, you know, we create that pipeline of students that will stay with us in the Vista family. And we love bringing the Palm Lane students over. They really enjoy it as well. We are attending community festivals, and now in the spring, this is the time when lots of festivals happen. So we usually have a table and we, you know, show activities and do art projects and pass out flyers and get enrollment. We're also out canvassing the neighborhoods, and we are visiting our feeder schools in the area as well. So lots of work happening at this time of the year for enrollment. We are also really working very hard on our attendance, as you could see by the numbers previously. So right now we're doing a monthly challenge where the grade level in each school that has the best attendance at the end of the month gets this time a popcorn party. So everybody's excited about that. And this week we had every single grade level's attendance was improved from the week before. So we're excited about that. And we are continuing to look at ways to increase our attendance and keep that moving in the right direction. Some of the tools that we're using that have been created, some by us and some by the organization, these flyers on chronic absenteeism, the SART process, the importance of being on time. We're sharing with parents. We have posted right at the front door when you come in. Our community coordinators are at the door first thing in the morning. So when those students are coming in late, they're talking to them. They're catching parents at the car. How come you're late? What's going on? Here's a flyer of the importance of being on time, and really trying to target at the source why students are absent and late. Okay, so on February 11th, we had a PD day because our neighbors at Templo Calvario have the mayor's breakfast. And so in previous years, we tried having a late start day because there's so many people, it takes up all of the parking in this whole area, and there's no way for staff or students, parents to come and park in the morning. And it wasn't really successful having a late start day. It threw everybody off, and it just ended up being a waste of a day. So this year, Dr. Felch and I worked on moving our PD day from March to the day of the mayor's breakfast. So the staff met offsite in Irvine at the E. Cadence building, and we spent a day really looking at that iReady data for ELA and math. And we spent the day collaborating. We invited teacher assistants and we paid them for the day so that teachers could work in their grade level with their TAs, share the data with them, work on the action plan, get TAs on board with how they can support in the classroom. And it was really a successful day, and everyone seemed to really get a lot out of it. Here's some pictures that show all the great collaboration that was happening throughout the day. And the top left table was meeting on a ping pong table, if you're wondering. And then I did a little feedback form. It's not all of the staff that attended, but about 22 of the staff members. And we have a 4.32 rating on our PD, so that's exciting. So I always want to make sure that it's valuable for the staff. Kagan, we've got a lot of Kagan going on. So this week, Thursday and Friday, our Kagan coach, Rick, will be on campus, and he goes in with myself, and I believe Miss Amaya will be attending as well, and observes teachers doing a Kagan structure and gives them feedback in the moment. And we had a Kagan coaching day in the beginning of the school year in, I think, November. And it was such a valuable experience having an expert watching you in the moment and giving you feedback right away was really, really helpful. And so we'll have that opportunity again Thursday and Friday of this week. And I just got to spend 4 days in Las Vegas with my fellow administrators at the Kagan Winter Academy. And I learned a lot, and I really appreciate the opportunity to get to grow professionally and learn more about the program that I oversee at my school. And we got a lot of learning done and had a little fun as well. So there we are in Las Vegas. And I think, is that it? There is. That's all for today. Thank you. And please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that great presentation.
Yeah, I'll just make one comment. I had an opportunity, I was sharing with some of you guys to visit Roxanne's school. And what you all are doing, right, is remarkable. You can feel it on your campus. There's an incredible warmth. There's an incredible, there's a recipe to the sauce too. It's very intentional to the culture that you guys have built. And I would highly recommend both. I know that our schools are in a lot of spaces, but the more opportunity that we have to learn from each other, right? And I just wanted to thank you again for hosting me on your site. It was very special.
Absolutely. Thank you. And we appreciate your visit and we look forward to seeing everybody else. Come on down.
Yes, that's great. Okay, now it is time to move on to the Icon financial reporting. So Arturo, you're up.
LOP costs to kind of offset that revenue from the beginning. And then on non-capitalized equipment, we had just a small increase there as they've reached their prior budgeted amount. And then in the 5,000 series, non-instructional consultants, and there was some advertising in there that we most likely will adjust as it appears to have been for Vista Lago that we captured afterwards. So you'll see a small adjustment there. Overall, as you can see on the net income is very similar to where you were at the first interim time frame. And even though the net income is only about $10,000, your unrestricted net income is actually about $275,000. The reason for that is that you have a lot of expenditures this year that's eating into your restricted income that you had from the prior years, primarily being some ELOP, additional funds from the Learning Recovery Block Grant from the state. Now that you're out of ESSER, we're kind of digging into those prior funds. So your unrestricted net income is still going to go up. Looking next at Horizon. For Horizon, we did have to lower the ADA just about a point. It did go right, yeah. So about 0.95, and that's due to the fact that their ADA has dropped since the first interim budget was put together. That did impact their LCFF. Some minor adjustments. We did add additional ELOP as they had a staff member that went from part-time to full-time, and we captured their updated California mental health apportionment. And as the middle school, their increase in their investment and interest as well. So slightly lower revenue, only about $28,000. And on the expenditure side, you see the adjustment there for the ACES coordinator that went to full-time, an additional increase in the non-cap equipment and uniforms, although for uniforms that gets offset a little bit with local revenue as they capture that back. On the 5,000 series, we did add additional for non-instructional, and that's the attuned portion that the schools are working with. And then their SPED costs are trending a bit higher than we had at the beginning of the year. So we made an adjustment for that. Overall, net income dropped a little bit. Same thing on the net unrestricted at about $40,000. Okay, moving on to January financials. So starting off again with the middle school. Generally on target. As you remember last month, they were above target on the 4,000 series, and that's primarily big purchases that they made at the beginning of the year. So like their computers, some furniture, et cetera, are pretty much capped out to what we had budgeted, but we don't expect more expenditures, so that should be trending back online. And then in the 5,000, it looks low, but we're capturing the bond payments a little bit different. So some of it's falling into your capital outlay and into depreciation. So that should offset, but overall on target. Next, their balance sheet. So go to the summary tab. So total cash at the end of January, they had just under $7 million, assets of about 15, which includes the building. So when you take that out in liabilities, you have total liabilities about $7 million, and their equity is about 7.9, which is relative to where they were at last year, or last month. So very steady and healthy. Looking at Heritage, gotta remember to click. Oh, you're doing it, so thank you. They are on track. You see the large payment in other local revenues. So that is their initial payment from their new K-12 grant. So that's actually going to be spread out over a couple of years, but that revenue all showed up in the last month. So that's why you see the big increase. When you look at expenditures, right on track. This one was a little bit above in the 4,000 series last month, but as you can see, they've kind of trended back into a proper place. Their capital outlay is a little bit above from some investments on furniture, so we're going to update that portion at second interim to align. Their balance sheet, so their summary, very similar to last month, 1.7 million cash at the end of January. Assets over 26 million, but big portion of that is this facility. Liabilities, about $50,000 in accounts payable. Then the facilities, so total about 25.1, and their equity is about 1.1 million. So they kind of hover around that 1 million, as you see from the last couple of months. Condor, so overall, the one thing we're keeping an eye on is in the 5,000 series. They are a little bit above. That's driven by a couple of things. One, utilities are trending a little bit higher than what we expected at the original budget, as well as SPED and substitutes. So those are ones we'll track and we'll update at second interim. The balance sheet for Condor is very healthy. They have 3.5 million in cash in county treasury at the end of January, just under 24 million total assets, liabilities of just over 21, so equity of about $2.5 million. Horizon, on track across the board, so they're in a good spot, which helps as their ADA has dropped a little bit, as I mentioned before, so hopefully ending in a strong position. Their balance sheet continues to grow and be healthy. So cash about 1.2 million at the end of January. Liabilities are very low as they don't have their own bond or facility, so only about 285K. So their equity is 1.3 mil. Palm Lane, they're on track, although this one, when we look at second interim, we'll probably see their revenue drop off a little bit, and that's due to their unduplicated percentage coming in lower than what we were expecting by about 7 to 8 points. So when that gets updated, their supplemental concentration, which impacts their overall LCFF, will take a bit of an impact. But their expenditures are all in line right now, and they had a net income about 240,000 or 86,000, but the unrestricted is a little bit higher. And the school hasn't tapped into their restricted funds as much. So that is a pocket of money they have available to increase their unrestricted for this year. Go to their balance sheet. So they're the second healthiest out of all the schools. Cash at the end of January was just over $4 million. Liabilities of under $1 million, as again, they don't have their own facility, which is helpful. And then equity about 8.1 million at this point. And then last one, Vista Meridian. So on track across the board. You do see that low percentage for the 5,000 series. That's again, they've only started making payments on their facilities in the past month, or really this month. So you'll see that trending in. And net income, we're expecting 128. We'll be updating that as have been some adjustments with the split facilities, as there's some additional need for some staff support. So that will be impacted a bit. Their balance sheet, so most of the cash they have is from their cash flow loan from Palm Lane. So their equity right now is still negative, but almost flat after a year and a half. Outstanding checks, you click 2. So lower amounts here, we'll be sharing this with the office managers and the principals tomorrow so they can take action on it. And so there's some on here that we cleared after January 31st, but since this is through January 31st, you still see that on here. That's the top 3 bolded numbers, checks there. And then the check register, which is too small to read, but let me know if there are any questions.
Questions? Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Arturo. Okay, moving on to the LCAPs. This is a requirement that we do mid-year LCAP updates and put them on the board for discussion. Can I just kick it out? Do you want to make any statements before I kick it out to discussion? Or ask if anyone-
I've got a really quick presentation.
Oh, great.
Some of it is what you already said.
Oh,
So,
good.
but yes, so the LCAP mid-year update is a requirement for all of our schools since each school is its own LEA. And so in this mid-year update, thank you. Each school provides mid-year outcome data as well as mid-year expenditure and implementation data. And so for the most part, it does align with the updates that Arturo provides each month, but it also breaks it down according to each of our LCAP actions. That is next slide. So the purpose of the LCAP mid-year update is to make sure that the public is aware of how each school is trending with its budgets, with the implementation of each of its actions. And I'm happy to say that across the board, each of our schools are either partially or fully implementing each of our LCAP actions. And one last one. So the considerations, there's no action that the board needs to take on this. This is more of a discussion item for the board and for the public to see. And happy to answer any questions on any of the items the board has seen. Each of the LCAP mid-year updates, I'm not going to go into depth with each one. But for the most part, spending is on track. There are a few items that some spending, like curriculum, for example, spent at the beginning of the year. There are a few other items such as like field trips, conference attendance that are a little lower that tend to go up a little more the second half of the year. But for the most part, we're tracking what we expected. So happy to answer any questions, whether it's something I can answer, whether it's something Arturo can answer, or any of our principals, if you have any questions.
Questions from the board?
No, I was curious as I was going through it, and it was like super helpful, right? But it was also like very separate, right? So I was like trying to take notes and like identify trends of like where there are areas of success and like where there might be areas of like we need some more support or to look into. And so I was curious, right? Like when we look at this stuff like distance from standard or EL classification rates, right? Like we got some schools that are doing really, really well, right? And other schools that are showing maybe that they're not trending in the right direction to meet that third 3-year mark. And so I was just like curious in terms of, you know, how do you look at that like on a dashboard? Are we making decisions in terms of what type of support schools are getting based upon that data?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We look at and one thing that I think really sticks out to me when I look at the LCAP mid-year update is ELD. ELD support, instruction, staffing, et cetera, has been trending lower than needed. And that's not due to a lack of trying. It's really because in our strategic plan, we want to get it right. And so in terms of adopting ELD program, curriculum services, that's one of the initiatives in our strategic plan. And so while it might be trending lower this year, we're planning for next year to make sure that we're going to be on track and doing it right next year.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Okay, we'll go ahead and accept that and move on to 3.5, discussion of the creation of the home office.
All right, and this is a follow-up from the last board meeting when we initiated this discussion. Wanted to provide the board and the public with an update on what has transpired and the conversations that have transpired over the past month. I have been in contact with each of our authorizers, LAUSD, Orange County Department of Ed, Riverside County Office of Ed, and Anaheim Elementary School District, to make sure that we are communicating with them about this well in advance. And so, as you heard last month, the recommendation from ICON was that this transition would be best to transition at the beginning of the fiscal year, of the next fiscal year. And so we wanted to make sure that we were already initiating these conversations well in advance. There has been no pushback from our authorizers. Most of our authorizers work with a number of other charter organizations that have similar structures already. So there weren't really any questions from our authorizers.
That's great news. Any other questions? I just a couple. So I'm super supportive of the fact that we're moving for this. Do you anticipate like a path or a project, or how are you going to get the tasks that you need lined up to get to July 1? And then what timeline do you, compound question, what timeline do you suspect? And is there board action that will be required, do you think, to do that? And how does that look? Do you have that information yet?
Yeah. So for the most part, it's an accounting function. So it's really just working closely with ICON to make sure that the accounting structures are set in place well beforehand, because it's really an addition of a new account, and then it's processing different items under that account. And so it's working with ICON, it's working with our own payroll and business and HR manager, Ms. Medina, to make sure that is all set up. We've already started to have a few meetings, both with Ms. Medina, myself, and ICON, to really begin those discussions of what type of changes will need to be made in order to make sure we have a smooth transition. But in terms of your question about board action, I do believe that there will need to be some board action, just like any other opening of an account. So if we were to open, like when we opened the account for Vista Lago, we needed board action. So it's something similar to that.
Got it. Okay. And you'll just keep updating us on the agenda?
Will do.
As it comes forward.
Mhm.
Thank you. All right. Moving now on to action items, and we have in front of us 4.1, which is the comprehensive school safety plans. As you will recall, these were brought to you last month. Now they're being brought to you for action, so I'll entertain a motion.
I motion that.
Thank you.
A second.
Okay, second by Tuan. Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, I'll go ahead and,
No updates. It's the same safety plans that we saw last meeting.
great. Okay, so I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, I didn't see any opposed. Motion carries unanimously. All right, moving on to 4.2, costs associated with conference attendance for 2 conferences that are upcoming. I'll accept a motion.
I motion that.
Thank you.
A second.
Thank you. Anything, Colin?
You mentioned it, two conferences. One is for our athletic director to attend the State Athletic Directors Conference, and one is for the California League of Middle Schools Conference for 2 of our heritage staff to attend that conference.
Great. Okay, I'll go ahead and call, no discussion. I'll go ahead and call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, I'm seeing any opposed. I'm also an aye. It passes unanimously. We'll move to 4.3, the VCPS auditor contract addendum. This is just an addition to include Vista Lago. I'll take a motion.
I motion that.
A second.
I like the ayes back and forth. Who's in second? Yeah.
Great.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any comments, John?
You mentioned it. It's addendum to our current auditor contract now that Vista Lago is coming on board.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Or no opposed? That carries unanimously. Okay, we're on to the 4.4 VCPS Drug and Alcohol Board Policy for bus and van drivers. I'll take a motion.
I motion that.
Thank you.
Second.
Michael, thank you. Colin, go ahead.
Yeah, so last month we had our annual CHP bus inspection. For the most part, it went well. However, the inspector did request that we do create a specific board policy for drug and alcohol testing for our bus and van drivers. We do have a drug and alcohol policy as part of our personnel handbook, but that is just a general policy for all employees. And the request was for drivers, and makes sense.
Great. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, aye. That carries unanimously. Moving to 4.5, ratification of the interim budgets. This is for LA Unified, and it was February 14th, I think Arturo said. I'll take a motion.
I motion.
Second.
Okay, and this is a ratification. Anything else you want to add?
Nope, this is based on what Arturo just presented to each of you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving to 4.6 and 4.7, but we'll do 4.6. Can I have a motion? This is
I
related.
motion that.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. This is a declaration for the need for fully qualified educators.
Yeah, so this is a two-parter. So the next two action items are linked, but they do have to be separate action items. So this one is a declaration of need for fully qualified educators for Vista Charter Middle School. This is for the music teacher who has his CTE credential, but as part of the preliminary CTE program, the EL authorization did not come with that. So this teacher is currently working on clearing his credential, and as part of the credential clearing process, he will also receive his EL authorization. This is an exceptional teacher. I can't emphasize that enough. He is more than qualified to be a teacher, and it's just a part of the process where the preliminary CTE program didn't include EL authorization.
Great. Discussion?
Just it sounds like he's amazing. How's he doing with this process?
We are supporting him. Dr. Real, our director of counseling, college, and careers, is working with him as a CTE teacher through this process. So he does have a few classes that he needs to take, and obviously he needs to take those before his current preliminary credential expires. But we're supporting him in making sure that he is taking those classes so he does clear his credential soon.
It's great to hear that he's got support, especially if he's a great teacher. Just don't want to get him lost in the
Exactly.
process.
Yeah.
Right. Sounds good.
And this is an impact of maybe 1505 probably, right? Maybe where
Yes.
for
Yep.
charter schools being
Yep.
added to the
Mhm.
CTC's fully credentialed list.
Yeah.
So, understood. And I'm glad we're having exceptions for innovative and really great teachers, because I think that's the charter school piece that I appreciate. All right, any other questions, discussion? Okay, take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, that motion carries unanimously. Moving now on to 4.7. And that's again linked, but go ahead, motion.
I motion that.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. All right. Anything to add?
And the second one is the submission of the EL waiver to the CTC, the California Credentialing Teacher Credentialing. I always get CTC.
CTC. Yeah. Okay. Any discussion? All right, we'll go ahead and take the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, that passes unanimously. And we're on to our last action item, which is 4.8, appointment of board member Dr. Kelly Lee, effective for a term of February 25th, 2025 to June 30, 2026. I'll look for a motion.
I motion that.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Okay.
And I have a feeling that a few of you might want to speak. I just want to share that I put her term to start tomorrow. So that way, if approved, she wasn't able to make it today because she had a board meeting herself at this exact same time. However, she is committed to make the subsequent board meetings. And I think a few of you might want to say a few words.
Yeah, can I go ahead and start? Yeah. Yeah, so I had the opportunity to talk to Kelly for, for an hour or half an hour. And I found that, she's a great addition. I'm excited to bring her onto the board. She offers another, viewpoint that I think the board really needs, which has to do with academics and has to do with her instructional background and also some of the environmental work that she's working on in the system with schools. So I think she also has some good visibility to what's happening in other schools, which to me is always valuable to see what best practices are around the whole educational system. So I'm super excited to have her. I know that she is a very busy person, and I know that we will handle her as a softly, but appreciate all of her experience as she comes aboard if we vote for her now. So Michael, I think you had a chance to talk to her too.
I'll just add, I did have a chance to talk to Kelly. And I just agree with what Miles was sharing, but I also would just say that I was grateful. She's clearly busy. She's got a lot going on, but the way that she was approaching it, she didn't want to step into something if she couldn't do it. And I think that just speaks to her character, right? She's got a lot going on, but she wants to be committed to this. So I know that she's not here today, but I know that she will be committed. And I think that exactly what Miles was sharing, that she'd be a great addition to the board.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take the vote then. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I didn't get a chance to talk to
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Dr. Lee. She did reach out to me, but I was busy. So I'm going to abstain from voting.
Okay, so we'll record that as 3-0. Oh, well, yeah, 3-0-0. It's 3-0-1. Sorry. All right, that gets us to the end. Now we have board comments. So we have a section for any board member comments. Michael, anything you want to share about your visit today? I know you shared it already.
Yeah. I've been around schools for a long time, and what's going on at that campus is special. And it has to do with the people, it has to do with the leadership, and it starts, I think, and I know, right, with the leader, and you're incredibly humble, right? I kept on asking you about, like, how is this happening? What are we doing? And you kept putting it towards the other folks. But I will just say, though, that as we continue this work, right, I'll just share this last time, the more that we understand who's in the buildings, what's happening, the better we're going to be able to serve the schools. And so I was super grateful for the chance to come, and I'm looking forward to attending other school visits. Yeah.
I was going to say, like, I think a lot of the metrics are great. I'd like to see more metrics, and then we can dig into the metrics to make better decisions, right? And I can help with, or the board can help with what metrics we want to see going forward. And then that way we can have a quantitative analysis, right? In terms of how to improve the process. So that's what I would love to see.
Great. I'm just going to use my board comments really quickly to talk about Geronimo. So he doesn't know I'm doing this, but I just, and maybe the family here at Vista knows more than I do, but I just was recalling, we were talking about Palm Lane and the origination of Palm Lane as a charter school, as a parent trigger school in our state. And he was just sharing humbly how he joined the process and got involved to do that. And so I just wanted to take, Palm Lane is now, of course, going to come up for a renewal vote in the near future, the next term. And, you know, just wanted to thank you for that, because I don't have the history of all that you've done to help the students at Palm Lane, but I always look at that from a perspective of how many students articulate through the school and what the impact is of that one action of getting involved. And so I just wanted to thank you for that. And I also wanted to just, you know, acknowledge that Palm Lane, as we saw from some of the data, has a lot of room to grow, has a lot of room to do more. But when you talk to Geronimo about where it was and where it is, you know, it was a decision that was really important. And it's the second and last of the parent triggers in the state. And so pretty impressive. And so anyway, just again, thank you for that. Okay, so I think we have ended this agenda. We're going to go out into closed session. The board will come back to close the meeting, but we know you may all not be here, but we'll be back and we'll close the meeting formally after closed session. Again, thank you for your attendance. Thank you for listening and all you do for the school, and have a great night. Okay, we're going to come back into the session and we have no actions to report out of the closed session tonight. And I will accept, I guess, a motion to adjourn.
I motion that.
Thank you.
Second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, our meeting is closed at 7:21. Thank you all. Have a great month.